Have you ever said something in the heat of the moment that you immediately regretted? Something that left a wound so deep it couldn't be undone? Well, that's exactly what happened to me. One wrong sentence, one careless mention of my ex, and in a matter of seconds, my relationship crumbled. He left that night, and I was left wondering, had I just destroyed everything? I've noticed only 98% of you who watch haven't subscribed. Come on, guys, show some love and support. Thanks a bunch to those who have already subscribed. I never thought a simple argument could turn into something so catastrophic. Alex and I had been together for over 2 years, and while we weren't perfect, we loved each other deeply. At least I thought we did. We had our ups and downs like any couple, but I always believed we were strong enough to handle anything. I was wrong. That night, it all started over something so trivial: holiday plans. We had been debating whose family to visit for Christmas. My parents lived a few hours away, while his were across the country. Naturally, I thought it made more sense to spend Christmas with my family and maybe visit his for New Year's. But Alex disagreed. "This is the 3rd year in a row we're prioritizing your family," he said, his voice laced with frustration. "Can't we just compromise for once?" I sighed. "Alex, we see your family every summer. My parents barely get to see us. Can't we just have this one?" And then the argument escalated. I could feel my patience wearing thin, and I let my emotions take control. And then I said it. "You know, my ex never made such a big deal about holiday plans." Silence. The moment those words left my lips, I felt the air shift. Alex's expression changed from frustration to something else, something I had never seen before. Hurt. Deep, undeniable hurt. "What?" he whispered, his voice almost breaking. I immediately regretted it. I tried to explain, to take it back, but it was too late. The damage was done. He shook his head, grabbed his coat, and walked out the door without another word. I stood there frozen, my heart pounding. I wanted to chase after him, but something told me it wouldn't help. I had crossed a line, one that shouldn't have been crossed. That night was the longest of my life. I sat by my phone, staring at it, waiting for a message, an explanation, anything, but it never came. The next morning, I woke up to an empty apartment. His side of the bed was cold. His toothbrush was gone. His favorite hoodie wasn't hanging on the chair anymore. That's when it hit me. He wasn't just angry. He had left. Panic set in. Had I really ruined everything? Over one stupid comment? I tried calling him, but it went straight to voicemail. I sent texts, apologizing, begging him to come back so we could talk. Hours passed, then a full day, then 2. Still nothing. I replayed the argument over and over in my head. Why had I said that? What was I even trying to prove? Bringing up an ex was the lowest blow possible, and I knew that. I wasn't trying to compare him. I was just frustrated. But that's not what he heard. He heard that he wasn't good enough, that I was still thinking about someone else, that he was losing me. By the 3rd day, I was losing hope. My best friend Mia came over to check on me. She sat on my couch, arms crossed, looking at me like I was the biggest idiot alive. "You brought up your ex in a fight?" she asked, disbelief in her voice. "I didn't mean it the way it sounded," I muttered, picking at my nails. "It just slipped out." Mia sighed, shaking her head. "Girl, if a guy told me his ex never did something I was doing, I'd be gone too." I groaned, burying my face in my hands. "So what do I do?" "You wait. Give him space. Let him process." But I didn't want to wait. I wanted to fix it. So against Mia's advice, I went to his apartment that night. I knocked, my heart hammering in my chest. After what felt like an eternity, the door finally opened. Alex stood there, looking exhausted, his eyes dull. "What are you doing here?" he asked flatly. I swallowed hard. I wanted to talk. He hesitated before stepping aside, letting me in. The place was a mess, like he hadn't bothered to clean up in days. I sat on his couch, wringing my hands. "I messed up," I started. "I know I did. What I said was wrong, and it was hurtful. I wasn't thinking." He scoffed. "No, you were thinking. You were thinking about your ex." "No, I wasn't. I was just frustrated. It had nothing to do with him." I was trying to make a stupid point, And I did it in the worst way possible. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. Do you even realize how that made me feel? I nodded. Yes, and I hate myself for it. We sat in silence for a moment before he spoke again. It's not just about what you said, it's about what it means. It means you're comparing me to someone else. It means in your mind, I'm not enough. My heart broke hearing him say that. Alex, you are enough, more than enough. I love you. What I said, it wasn't about missing my ex. It was just me being an idiot. He looked at me for a long time, and I could see the conflict in his eyes. Finally, he exhaled sharply. I need time. I nodded even though it hurt. I understand. And so I gave him time. Days turned into weeks, and though we talked occasionally, things weren't the same. He was distant, guarded. It felt like I was trying to hold on to something slipping through my fingers. Then one day he called me. Can we meet? My heart leaped. Of course. We met at our favorite coffee shop, the one where we had our first date. He looked nervous, which only made my anxiety worse. I've been thinking a lot, he said, stirring his coffee absent-mindedly. About us, about that night. I braced myself for the worst. I know you didn't mean to hurt me, he continued, but it did hurt, and it made me realize something. I don't want to be in a relationship where I feel like I have to compete with a ghost from your past. Tears welled in my eyes. You don't have to. I swear, Alex. He shook his head. It's not just that. I love you. But this made me realize that maybe we need to work on ourselves separately before we can work together. And just like that, my heart shattered. He was breaking up with me. I wanted to argue, to beg, but deep down I knew he was right. We weren't in a good place, and sometimes love isn't enough. We parted ways that day, both of us in tears. It wasn't a bitter ending, but it was still painful. Now looking back, I realized that one comment didn't ruin our relationship. It just exposed the cracks that were already there. But if there's one thing I learned, it's this. Words have power, and once they're spoken, they can't be taken back. So to anyone watching, please think before you speak. Don't let one careless sentence cost you someone you love. And if you've ever been in a situation like this, let me know in the comments. Have you ever said something you instantly regretted? How did you fix it? Let's talk about it. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Thank you for watching, and remember, love is fragile. Handle it with care.